Two deaths over a span of 4 days of two Russian nationals in the same hotel in Odisha's Raigada has raised suspicion and doubt in the minds of people and concern and worry among the other two who were part of the group that was traveling to India on a vacation here in Odisha. Now, what we'll first talk about is the second death over here, that of Pavel Antov. Pavel Antov is or was a politician from Russia, a senior member of the Legislative Assembly from the Vladimir Oblast, also a sausage multimillionaire and a philanthropist. He was a powerful politician from Russia who was briefly, and remember only very briefly, seen as a critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Earlier this year, there was a message that was sent out by him where he was critical of the Russian war in Ukraine. He had in fact compared the Russian war in Ukraine with terrorism or terror. And though this message of his was quite immediately withdrawn and also an explanation put out, and this is as per media reports from the West largely, that the explanation put out was that it was erroneously sent out due to some technical issue in his electronic device. But since then, he's been viewed as a person who has been critical of President Vladimir Putin, even though briefly. And that is why his death is raising suspicion also because of the manner in which Pavel Antov has died. He is believed to have fallen from the third floor of the hotel where he was staying in Odisha. Now, as reports in the local media suggest, he was found in a pool of blood, and at the moment, the police is still investigating as to whether this was a case of an accident, that he accidentally fell down, or whether this was a case of death by suicide. And why death by suicide? Why is that possibility being looked at? That's because just 2 days previous to his own death, his friend, who was part of this group of four, was found dead in the hotel room. And as per what has been reported by local media and the police, is that several alcohol bottles were found open in his room. Later on, the autopsy suggested that he died due to a heart stroke, uh, perhaps linked to the alcohol consumption. After which, there are some who believe that Pavel Antov himself was depressed because of the death of his friend, and also the suddenness of it all because his last rites were also conducted here in Odisha itself. And that depression may perhaps have led to him dying by suicide. At least that is one theory, but still under investigation whether it was a fall, an accidental fall, or a death by suicide case. Meanwhile, the Russian embassy has come out with a statement when queries were raised with them. They said that they are aware of the tragic demise of two of their nationals in Odisha, one being Pavel Antov, who was a member of the Legislative Assembly in the Vladimir Oblast. They also said that they are in touch with the families of the deceased and with the local authorities as well. And so far, the police have no evidence to suggest that this could be any criminal or any criminal component could be attached to these deaths yet. However, the uncanny nature of a fall of a person who's critical of Vladimir Putin, a fatal fall really, is similar to what we saw earlier this year as well in September, when Ravel Maganov, who was rather an oligarch, was found dead after he fell from the window of a hospital in Russia. So the uncanny similarity or the resemblance to this fall of Pavel Antov is also something that has raised suspicion and doubt, and it's doing the rounds on social media. Many people are talking about it because of this uncanny similarity and the fact that in the past there have been fatal falls of this nature of people who were perceived to be critics of Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, we have seen in the past as well another case, a very glaring case, talked about case, a case that shocked the world, that of the death of Alexander Litvinenko. Alexander Litvinenko was in fact out of Russia, just like in this case, they were not in Russia, and Pavel Antov and his group of friends, they are all in India. Alexander Litvinenko was in London when he is believed to have consumed tea that was laced with polonium, and the radioactive element seems to have killed him. Uh, Similarly, all these deaths of anybody who seemed critical of Vladimir Putin immediately raised doubt and suspicion. However, at the moment, as the Russian embassy has put out that they do not see any criminal component here from the details that they have received from the police. But these two deaths, sudden deaths, have created concern, and especially among the group of four people who were traveling. The hotel staff earlier on told the local press, local media, that they are waiting for any further details from the Russian embassy of the other two who were part of the group, and then things will proceed further on. But these two deaths in a span of 4 days certainly a cause of concern. However, the police is looking into the issue.